All right, so now let's look at how to um, write some code so that we can automatically make the base map the satellite view rather than the map view. And so what we found last time is that the Documents tab is helpful because it provides a list of all of the methods that are associated with a certain kind of Earth Engine data object. And so we're working with Earth Engine's map, and the map is a data object that has all of these methods associated with it. And we used the get center and the get zoom to kind of to check our work after we set the center, where we defined the basically the center and the zoom all in one spot. So what we'd now like to do is find the method that allows us to set the base map. And I've given it to you in the snippets, so we can just copy that and paste it in. And this is going to set the default base map. And if you look over here, it's the set options. So this is telling you that the object method takes three possible arguments, and the arguments include map type ID, and here's a definition for what map type ID is. And this can be basically the default is roadmap, but then there's satellite, there's hybrid, which is the satellite with labels, and there's terrain. The styles we're not going to work with just yet, and the types we're not going to work with just yet. And so this also tells you that these arguments are all optional, like they don't have to include all three. Um, it also tells you what type of what data type you need to pass as the argument. So map ID is expecting a string. Is that fair? So then if we go here, we can see that we've said map set options, and we're passing the string satellite, which it basically told us right there. It needs to be a string. It also needs to be all caps. So if we hit run here, it should work. If we said satellite, it's not. It's gonna not do anything. Actually, let's see. Is that true? So if I said hybrid lowercase, would it be okay? Actually, let's say terrain lowercase. See if it can handle that. Huh, it can. Cool. So it doesn't even have to be all uppercase. I always thought it had to be. And you can see what a creature of habit I am. I'm going to go back to that because often I just kind of copy these here and then go in and paste them there. Is that fair? And so we don't have to. Um, the only other thing I'm going to say here is that because these are optional, we don't have to define them. We can just leave it blank. And the order here matters. So what we're basically, because this is the first argument that's being passed to the method, it kind of knows that that we're trying to define the map type ID. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's the other thing. The last bit is that the reason why we set the map center first and then drew the satellite second is that the way that Earth Engine processes the code is from top down. So if we had done this and put it here, and then let's mess up the Rubik's Cube, all right, and kind of zoom someplace else. And if we hit run, it basically, you hardly notice it, but it winds up drawing the satellite, then changing the center, and then having to basically redraw the base layer based on the new center. Is that fair? So it happens so fast you barely notice it, but when you're working, um, but it's kind of good practice to be thinking about what's the most efficient sequence of tasks that you want the machine to fire in. And so here you want it to kind of set the center and pick the zoom level first, and then swap out the base map so that it only has to swap out the base map once. Is that fair? So that's just kind of a good practice. Be thinking about the order that you do operations in, and and try to minimize having to do something more than once. Whew.